Hey, I'm Gary, and I'm here with my friend Rob, and we are excited to share stories, insights, and the values that guide our lives. Whether you're a long-time listener or new here, welcome. Visit northmancoaching.com for your free toolbox and updates. Let's dive in. Happy listening.
So today's episode is about integrity. It's kind of a conduct that you hold yourself to. It isn't something that it just naturally comes to you. You have to practice it on a daily basis.
So I have to practice this on a daily basis. It's not going to come naturally.
No, it doesn't come naturally, and the whole society will try to entice you not to have integrity. There will be times that people do things and it's like they're breaking your integrity constantly. And I'll tell you the truth, I think that's part of what a lot of the Bible talks about sinning is trying to break your integrity.
Sure. I mean, you see a lot in government.
Yeah.
Who's lining whose pockets? What is the real reason that something is being done? I think in the government there's a lot of lack of integrity.
Yes.
So, but for the listeners, we have come up with an acronym for integrity, and Rob and I are going to go through the whole thing to start off, and we are going to tell you what integrity means to us. So, Rob, integrity, we have inspiration, nobility, truthfulness, ethics, genuine, respect, inclusiveness, trust, and yourself. So back to I with inspiration. Tell me what inspires you to have integrity.
I would have to say that the coaches, I've watched them many times, and it is an inspiration to watch them constantly do this work. And so I want to be like Dennis and Charlie and constantly help somebody. And so they have been my biggest inspiration along this path. So,
All right.
how about you?
My inspiration, well, I'd say similar to yours. Definitely, Jeff, Charlie, and Dennis. I'm actually going to throw in a bonus. I would say my daughter, because I want her to see me doing this work and know that it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to question things. And it's okay. More important, it's okay to help each other. And even more than that, it's okay to ask for help. I want her to normalize all of that. So the next word is nobility, Rob. So where does nobility and integrity play in your life?
Well, at first, when you said nobility, I was like, oh, wow, you're talking about being knighted like Sean Connery and knighted in the King of England. So what does nobility truly stand out as integrity? And I was like, so it to me it is doing something like for a cause that nobody asked you to do, or doing a task nobody told you you had to do. My granddad was my person that I would say noble. He would constantly do some things that he would help people, and everybody else would say he's crazy. Why is he helping those people? And it was like, but he's being I guess noble about it. So does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. So.
Sure. I think so. When I think of nobility, I think of Nelson Mandela. He was in prison for 20 something, 30 something years, I guess. And when he was released, instead of looking for revenge, he just wanted to unite the people of South Africa. And I look at that story, and it makes me think of my day job. So many times that I want revenge, but I choose to do the right thing. Because, what is revenge? Revenge tastes sweet for a minute. It's still going to come back and bite you at some point. So I don't know. I look at Nelson Mandela and I try to I guess, live in his shadows when I can.
Mm. The next one is truthfulness. And I know I've told this story in the past, but my mom was not very truthfulness. And after doing all this work, I learned that it's so much easier if you just tell the truth. So,
Well, not to piggyback on you, but I have the same thing, not with my mother, but with
uh,
me. I
mm,
used to lie all the time.
mm,
And after reading the Four Agreements again and again, I realized that people lie because they don't want, or they want to hide their imperfections,
mm,
or they want to avoid getting in trouble.
mm,
And I think a lot of that was with me. I wanted to not be in trouble. I wanted to hide any imperfections. But then I had to come up with the backstory and
mm,
the next story, and it all had to align with that lie. And that's a lot of work. And I don't really like doing a lot of work. So
mm.
truthfulness is easier than lying.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
you're going to work smarter and not harder, I would say be truthful.
So the next one is ethics. And this is like what keeps you from stealing something.
Hmm.
And I think this is ingrained like out of habit for me. It's like I'm worried that karma is going to come bite me in the butt if I steal somebody's information or if I steal grapes. Something else, something bad's worse going to happen to me. So I have a fear of karma when it comes to ethics.
You said stealing grapes. You're ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I did.
So I want to just put that out there for the listeners. So stealing grapes is in like going to the grocery store and taking a grape.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. And it's a taste test. I don't put it in my pocket for later. I don't steal it. I taste it. And if it's a good grape, if the bunch is good, then maybe I'll buy them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like taking a car for a test drive.
Mm-hmm.
But what keeps me from stealing is going to be shallow as it can be, but I don't want to go to jail.
Mm.
So karma has a little bit to do with it, but I just don't want to go to jail.
No.
So, and the next word we have is genuine. How does that play into your life, Rob?
I think that's more recent. And it's hard to be the Robert all the time sometimes. Because sometimes you just want to be lackadaisical and you just want to just revert back to the nice guy. And sometimes it's very hard to say, no, be Robert the way you want to be today.
Okay.
How about you?
Same here. I want to be me. Like we did in the last podcast. Gene Wild, is that his name?
Yeah.
Said, "Be yourself," because everybody else is already taken.
Mm-hmm.
I think I spent enough time in my life trying to be like other people, and I finally, in the last few years of my life, figured out who I am, and that is the person that I'm living every day, and trying to make them better and better and better.
Mm.
And the next word is respect, Rob. How does respect fall into integrity with you?
Mm. So, as earlier stories, I had respect issues with my parents, but I mean, it stems from the Bible. The Bible says respect people, and that is something that I work on constantly. And after reading the Four Agreements, I think I understand it better. So,
Okay.
how about you?
For me, I respect people because I want respect in return,
Mm,
but I was raised to respect my parents.
mm,
I was in the military and I was to respect uh, people above me, like people in authority. And I just think that you should respect your elders. That's just the way I was raised. And I expect to have respect from younger people beneath me. Uh, and I show respect to those above me. That's just the way I was raised.
all right. And the next one is inclusiveness. Ooh.
Hmm.
What does that magical word mean?
Well, for me, it's to not judge others for first impressions or what you see on the outside, their cover or whatever. You don't want to judge people for that. That's really it for me, I think. I don't, other than that, on a side note, I mean, I went on an all-inclusive trip this past year and it was terrible. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
As far as inclusiveness goes with people, it just, I think it has a lot to do with not judging.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I would say it's not judging, and I would say like if you want a great example would be like Jesus, and
Sure.
it's to start showing love to everybody, and not necessarily exclude them for any reason from your being loved. So the next one on the list is trust.
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 So to me, trust is, so I think before I did this work, I liked to think I trusted almost everybody until they gave me a reason not to trust them. And I still think I live like that, but now I go with my gut, my instincts. And if my gut says that I can trust this person, then I'll do it. If my gut says that I can't trust this person, then I like to look in a little deeper and figure out why my gut is telling me this. But I'm more often than not going to go with my gut.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think most people would call that your Jiminy Cricket, like we talked about in Pinocchio kind of deal. But I had a lot of trust issues when I was growing up. So learning how to trust again was it took a lot of work. Trusting somebody is not easy. So
I agree. And the last one is yourself. And this is a big one, I think, because, well, it took Rob and I a second to figure out what that meant, yourself. And for me, it means to be yourself, which is very similar to being genuine or authentic. Do you agree with that?
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
And
And
I think, go ahead.
boy,
Go ahead.
and sometimes I have to remind myself to be myself.
Sure.
That
Yeah. I think we all do.
what my values are. And sometimes when I get in a situation, I'll have to say, calm down, Robert. You are the Robert that is loved, etc., etc. So yeah.
Yep. So we didn't tell the listeners what integrity actually meant, or the definition. So it kind of goes with the why of yourself. So integrity is doing something based on your values and your beliefs versus any kind of other gain you might get out of it. So with the yourself thing, it's so close to being authentic, but so authentic and genuine, but genuine. What do we say it was? Was like an object.
Yeah.
Genuine is like an object, and authenticity is
It's
an
the
act.
action. Yeah.
Or the action.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And I give this opportunity because Gary came out with this beautiful quote. Integrity is choosing your thoughts and values rather than for personal gain. And it actually does incorporate that very well because if you think about it, it's like how you choose to live makes up your integrity. And if you're choosing it for personal gain, then you're letting your integrity
Integrity.
deteriorate. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he came out with a very good quote.
So since we just talked about all this integrity, I want to share a quick story about me and my lack of integrity during my marriage. I think this is a good story actually, because I enjoy telling this one. So when I was married, my wife was a stay-at-home mom and I worked. And like I told you in earlier episodes, she took care of paying all the bills with the money that I made. I was horrible with money for the most part. I didn't know what was going where or whatever. But for my lack of integrity story, I set up this bank account and I took 5% of my check and put it in this bank account so that my wife or ex-wife would not see it. And it'd be like my own little personal spending money. So instead of asking for spending money, which I'm pretty confident the answer would have been no, but I don't know that. So I decided to steal it from myself or from us, if that makes sense. And 5% of my check was, I mean, it was like $1 or $2 a week. It was enough to buy like an energy drink, candy bar, whatever I wanted. I don't know. I didn't ask for a lot. Anyway, I did it for about, I don't know, a few months, and I got caught. And I just remember that the bank gave all of the information on this account to my ex-wife just because she said she's my wife. Like she didn't have the password. She didn't even know my social security number. And yet they just turned all that information over. So along with being honest, I had to create this story on why I decided that this would be a good idea. And that led us right into marriage counseling pretty freaking quick. So yeah, that was it. I did not have integrity during my marriage when it came to certain things like that.
My story is more recent, where I had to keep in my integrity. I signed up to go on a trip, a very, very expensive trip, and it was where after a year, men were starting to drop off the trip, and this was that guy's bucket list dream. So I knew in my heart, I was like, when somebody has a bucket list dream and they ask for people to go, you go. There is something special about bucket list dreams. And so I told them I would do it. But they had four guys drop off the list. I mean, I think one of them was for a medical reason. That was kind of, but it was just timing, and then there was like, oh well, I can't go now, money tight, or et cetera, et cetera. And I understand their excuses, but it was like it put the burden back on the rest of the other guys. And I just thought to myself, I said I'd go, but I really can't afford to keep going if men keep going out because the price kept going up. Luckily for me, nobody else, but I was like, I really had to hold to my word because I was on the seat of my pants to jump out because of the price was getting so high. So, but I
So
stayed
my
with it and I'm glad I did. So,
question for you is, why did you stick with this trip even though the cost kept going up?
because I told the guy I would do it. That was my integrity part. I'm not that type of person. I would sit there and go, "Oh my goodness, it's not on my bucket list. I did it just because I helped the guy fulfill his bucket list." So
Gotcha.
I just, but I told him I would do it, and I did it. So I,
So what you're trying to say is that you told this guy that you were going to do something and you followed through with it,
yes,
and that's what you call integrity.
that's what I call integrity. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Oh man, you were trying to pull some
You
fast
like
one
that?
on me.
I don't see how tough on you.
I do like that one. That was pretty cool. Do you want to end? You want to wrap it up this time?
Well, we have the outro story.
Do you have an outro story?
Of course, I have an outro story.
Good for you. I don't have an outro story.
It's going to be a continuation. It's going to be the downside of my intro story for the listeners that are listening. Still, so with my integrity that I was missing during my marriage, I had my reasons. It does not make it any better, but I want everyone to know that I'm not some evil bastard. I did what I did because I worked 60, 70 hours a week in the restaurant business to bring home the money to feed and take care of my wife and daughter. And I took this little bit, 5% of my check to buy myself an energy drink or a candy bar. And this whole time that my wife wasn't working, she was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I'd come home and she'd be half in the bag. So she got the money that she needed for her liquor and her smokes. But I could not get my energy drinks. So to me, it seemed like I needed to level the playing field or something. It was wrong. It was wrong. I should have, if I could do it again, I would say, hey, you've got this, this, and that. I'm working. I'm going to take this much money for this. But I didn't. So if I'm ever in that boat again, now I know how to have integrity with the situation.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, brother.
Yeah, man.
That was a good story, actually.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today on Living by Oak Values. If you love what you heard, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more inspiring conversations. You got thoughts or want to go deeper? Share your story or snag a free session with us at northmancoaching.com. Oh, and if you've got a great story worth sharing, why not be a guest on the show? Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Join us again next week for another inspiring episode. Until then, keep embracing your values and stay authentic.
Actually, I like the way you do that, brother.